Welcome back to my channel. Maybe you just never left. Maybe you were just waiting for this episode, and that's awesome. Here we are. Okay, so we're gonna talk about a drama triangle. And when I understood just this one concept, my entire life changed. In fact, I'm learning to become more vulnerable with my story and tell you the truth of what actually happened, because there's too many of these like videos going viral where I'm trying to be someone else and then you're trying to be like her, and like this copycat system of like, well, I guess that works if you say this, right? Like, this is not scripted. Hi, I'm Bree. I'm super authentic, and I empower you to be exactly that. Like, be weird, be crazy, be loud, be independent, be whatever you are. I really don't care, but that's what I am, so you're welcome. So we're gonna talk about the drama triangle and where that impacted my life the most. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my shirt on. Okay, so, oh, guys, this is so hard. Let's just feel it. Okay. So I had got divorced the second time at 25. And at that time, my brain was changing like they say it does at 25. Well, I went and sought out a mentor because, similar to what you might be going through, I needed some help. And so I hope to be that for you. And this inspirational teacher taught me the drama triangle. And when I understood what I was playing and how I was playing into the pattern, my entire life fell apart because I was honest with myself and I could see where I was doing this behavior. So the idea is that there's a triangle, and this triangle is in relation to your relationships. Okay, so this triangle exists in every relationship. It doesn't matter if it's with a parent or a coworker or a boss or your romantic relationship. And that's where I saw it the most, was with my husband. And at the top of the triangle, you have a hero. And we see these themes in movies, but we're not consciously aware of like how a story becomes a story. But usually there's a hero, because in order to have a hero, there's usually a victim. And if there's a victim, then that also means that there must be a third part, which is a bully or someone who likes to stir the pot, right? So think about a time in your life where you've been one or two or usually all of them. In fact, if you look into psychology, most of us actually play each of those roles in different scenarios at different times. So if you're in a dramatic situation, you can almost bet that you're in a drama situation because you're playing a part of the drama triangle. And your ego is not going to like what I have to tell you, because it's going to take some honesty on your end, because the only way to change a relationship dynamic is to own that you're also half of that relationship. Without you, there is no relationship, right? Because then otherwise that person creates a different relationship elsewhere. So in my relationship with my husband, I was constantly the hero. In fact, I had fallen in love with him based off the idea that he needed saving. I had found out that he had cancer. I had found out that he was going through a really hard time. And I mistakenly used empathy instead of love. But I thought that I was in love. And we'll get into the difference of empathy and love, because it's a huge misconception. So I was constantly in this state of wanting to rescue him, like feeling so bad for him. And like, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to have cancer. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to experience those things, right? Previous to that marriage, I was, again, a hero, but I was more a victim. Like, the first time I got married, I was under the illusion that they tell us in the Disney world, which is I'm a princess and someone is going to come and sweep me off my feet, and he is going to come save me because my parents have been divorced 3 times and I didn't have a dad. My dad had left me at a very little age. I was 9 years old and I thought I was broken, and then all the trauma started. Okay, fast forward. So the hero gets validation when they find someone that needs them. Their ego is super addicted to being needed, because if no one needs them, who would you be, right? This person gets a lot of validation off of needing to be needed by others, because then they're important, right? Like, their whole objective is about feeling important, feeling like they have a worthy cause, feeling like they can dedicate their life to something. And that's what I did in my marriage. If you are broken, then I'm going to dedicate all of my time and energy to making sure that you feel all the things I want you to feel. And then by doing that, you're going to like tell me thank you, right? And it sounds so like narcissistic and crazy, and it's because it is. It actually is. Because you're under the illusion that your value only comes when you're in the mode of rescuing and your partner. And you know what's crazy about the hero role? In the hero role, you're actually really resentful of the people that you're saving around you because you feel like you're the only one doing everything. And it's ironic because the hero will slide down into victim after enough resentment. So constantly after hearing my husband and feeling like he needed fixing, I didn't realize I was a fixer. That's another word for it, fixer. A lot of women do this, by the way, with their men. They need to fix them. They need to make them more righteous. They need to make them better. They need to make them more presentable. They need to get them perfect and, all the things. And then what happens is that then there's resentment. So then you start resenting the person you're saving because you don't feel like they're giving anything back to you. And they can't because you set up the relationship where you were the one that needed to be needed and they were comfortable with being the hero. Or I'm sorry, they were okay with being the victim. That's where the relationship was bonded. He had a need or she had a need of being a victim and the other person had a need of wanting to be a savior and fixing it. And so you guys were a really perfect match. So when I found out that I was heroing and fixing and playing a part of this role, we'll call it a role, and I stopped doing that consciously, my relationship with my husband started growing like this. Because I no longer believed that he was a victim. I no longer saw him that way. And what happens when someone realizes they're a hero is they realize, okay, so if I don't need to help them, then that just means what? What does it mean if you don't need to save someone? I'll tell you, it means they're fully freaking capable of being a functioning human being and fixing themselves. And by the way, they're not broken, so they're okay with standing on two legs because they're perfectly capable. And the hero or the fixer has a belief that the victim isn't capable, right? So I had a belief that my husband wasn't capable. I had this actual belief that he needed me. And who's he gonna be without me? And it's so cute. It's so cute to think that because then after resenting the hell out of him because he wasn't stepping up and being the man I wanted him to be, then guess who slid into victim? Now who is the victim? I was the victim. So I'd slide from hero down to victim. And I want you, while I'm telling my story, to imagine where you play in this drama triangle. The victim is looking for validation in the poor me story. Oh, poor me, I save everybody and I'm always there for everybody and no one's ever there for me. And I give my heart and my energy and my attention to everybody, but no one does it back for me. And the victim is in this story that they're somehow needing to be rescued, but they're also the ones that are trying to get attention. They get a lot of attention this way. And so when I stopped being the hero and decided to slide down into victim and resentment of just kind of hate, to be honest with you, it made sense while we started growing apart because you can't have two victims. And if you do, then you're both just sitting in a pool and that doesn't work. That's not hot. You start, realizing you're both in this crappy puddle. And relationships don't always have to fall apart when you're aware of the role you're playing. But when you have the awareness, oh boy, things start to change. Oh boy. So then there's the bully. And the bully is the person that likes to stir the pot. It's the perpetrator. It's the one who likes to get the high emotions out and who likes to get the flames and who likes to have the chaos or who likes to create this story because they're not comfortable in just a casual relationship unless something dramatic is happening, right? And what's really interesting about all of the roles that are being played is that there's always something that we're getting from them, like I mentioned. So there's a hero, there's a victim, and then there's a perpetrator or a bully. And the bully is looking also for validation, but in a different way, right? So the victim is pouty while the bully is fine, I'll piss you off. Fine, I'll make sure that you know that I'm here. Fine, I'll make sure I get in your face and I'll make sure that I get a rise of emotion from you. And it's crazy because then when that happens, then it charges this interaction where we're used to the roles that we're playing. So when you realize the role that you're playing in your relationship, then you have a choice. And in choice, that's where you find freedom. So I get into this a lot more, but what happened with my relationship was a lot. There was cheating involved. There was abuse involved. There was so many things outside of that. In fact, I married my husband after he had already cheated on me. So I share that openly with you so that you know if you don't have high self-worth, you're not going to attract someone different than where you're at consciously with your own values and your own worth. And what's even more crazy is that relationships are always formed in a place of need, or it's coming from a place of abundance. And what I mean by that is if you're in a victim energy and you're watching my YouTube and you're like, Brie, I just want a relationship and then I'll feel whole. I want a relationship. Well, that's cool. And I believe you, but we got a lot of internal work to figure out first before you just go attract someone, pull them in, and then play this drama that you've been playing. Another thing I want to bring up with the bully is I strongly believe the bully is also someone who can be really narcissistic. And you have a whole lot of other YouTube channels that can talk to you about all of those traits, but you know in your heart if it's toxic. I don't have to tell you if it's toxic. You know if it is. And if you've been lying to yourself, I'm going to give you permission to be open about it because hello, like you don't have to settle for that, but you're choosing it for some reason. So we're going to get into those unconscious beliefs. So I have a website. If you want to drop down below, I will include that. I have an Instagram, Let's Be Best Friends. And I want to know if you have experienced yourself in a dynamic where you love rescuing people and you love feeling needed by everyone needing you and you love feeling important and you love being on the pedestal and then you get really resentful, right? Are you someone who's in the victim energy, who's like, oh my gosh, like nobody loves me and I'm not perfect and she's better than I am and all of this whiny energy? It's very whiny. It's very waiting for the guy on the white horse to show up and rescue you in belief that you're not capable of being an independent whole individual. The victim is also someone who believes that they're half of a person without the other one fulfilling them. So the victim believes that their greatest enjoyment, their greatest fulfillment, their greatest happiness will only happen after someone comes in and helps fill the gap. Like there's a big gap, right? And then there's the bully who's like, we got to have something going on because it's like there's this spark, there's this need to create drama because then there's attention from that. And when there's attention from that, it's like they're all getting the same thing. They're all getting the speed off of, being validated or being important or getting attention. But what's really interesting is that we slide into them and we're constantly sliding. And if we're not aware, then we perpetuate these patterns even with bosses. Even with parents, even with, different relationships. And that's what this is about, is relationships. Like, how content are you if you're in the middle of a divorce? Can you see where this played out? If you're in the middle of a breakup, can you see where this played out? And if you're single, can you see where this is playing out? In fact, you won't even go on dates if you're someone who thinks that you need to hero, because then you're just looking for broken boys, or you're looking for broken men in the wrong pool. Like, you say you want this, but you're out there doing that. I told myself so many times I wanted this beautiful, like masculine, amazing, divine man. And I would go fishing for this guy in the dating world, and then I would only find the ones that were broken, not broken. I would find the ones that were not up to my standards, because I was really stuck on this idea that I was going to make sure that you got where I was going. And I was up here, and I was constantly lowering my standards. Do you know what that feels like? How many times do we say we're going to be one version of us, and then we lower our standards? And there's a lot of reasons we do that. It's fear, or it's beliefs that we're not worthy of what we actually want. Or it's just that you're a fixer and you got a really big ego. And if you don't know what ego is, we'll talk about that too. But I'm really excited to help you figure this part of your relationships out, because the awareness is the first step. And I want to encourage you. I have a program that I am helping with so many lives changed, with women especially, who want to reclaim their worth. I dare you to rise. I dare you to rise. That's your call to action. Dare to rise. What the hell does dare to rise mean? It means you today are no longer going to stay who you've been. And if you're in pain, I'm going to validate that and then say, okay, what are we going to do about it? You're not a victim, and you're not going to stay in that energy, because what you went through matters. If I chose to be in victim energy, I wouldn't be on a YouTube freaking telling you my life, because I would think love wasn't for me. I would decide, my parents at a young age, that you just got divorced and that was normal. And it's not normal. And it's not okay to stay in toxic relationships. It's not okay to be abused and be hope addicted. It's not okay to keep rescuing people who aren't at your level. It's not okay to be a bully and try to get a spark and attention from someone by intentionally hurting people. And you have a really bad relationship with yourself until you figure out how much you actually love you. And that doesn't always sink in well for us, especially when we're wanting someone else to do the job for us, right? Anything to avoid alone time, because who am I if I'm by myself, right? So I'm really excited. Go to BreeBreeMarie.com. Almost forgot. BreeBreeMarie.com. Go click Dare to Rise if you're a warrior and you wanna be inspired. You wanna find your soulmate. You wanna find this amazing relationship. You wanna heal your body. You wanna heal all of the things that you feel are broken. Let's go do that together. So I'll catch you on the next episode. Until then, be strong and dare to rise.